Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Lekon Onobanjo. The top stories at this hour. Organized labor in Nigeria set to shift ground on proposed 1 million naira minimum wage. Nigeria's ruling APC image maker in Plateau State shot dead. Africa Union leaders to push renewal of US AIDS plan. Details to come your way shortly. The news begins in West Africa as we pick up on security issues. 2 persons have been killed in a heinous attack on a pub in the Pangshin local government area of Plateau State, Nigeria's north central. Reports indicate that among the victims of this senseless violence was Silvanus Namang, the publicity secretary of the All Progressives Congress in the state. An official of the party who spoke anonymously confirmed Namang's untimely demise, revealing chilling details of the incident. He noted that Namang was killed when armed assailants unleashed a barrage of gunfire at an eatery in Pangshin, where he had gone for a burial on Saturday. The sudden loss of Namang has sent shockwaves through the political community, prompting calls for swift justice from security forces. In the meantime, the Senate has stated that Nigerians, through their various representatives, will be the ones to determine whether or not the country will adopt state and local policing as against the current federal structure currently in place, as well as the type of system of government to run. This was made known by the spokesperson of the Senate, Yemi Adaramodu. President Bola Tinubu had on Thursday met with state governors and agreed on the creation of state and community police systems to put an end to the menace of insecurity robbing the nation of its peace. Adaramodu stated that the Senate had on Wednesday formed a committee to review the Constitution and would allow it to carry out its full responsibilities. Earlier, we were joined by political analyst Suleiman Akande.
If you look at the various statistics out there, it shows that Nigeria as a nation is under police. So the issue of state police has been on the agenda of this present administration. So it is a very welcome development, and if we can get the constitution review so that it can address the issue of state police, I think it's a welcome development. Yeah, it's just like putting the right apparatus in place and making sure that we create a law that checks the excesses. I think we should learn from the present settings of the Nigerian police. If there are new power that should be given to them or power that should be removed from them. So I think that's the law. And I'm also of the advocate that this law should be a kind of a law that is people-oriented, that's originating from the people, which I believe the Senate will take into consideration by conducting a public hearing, among others, and also seek people's opinion.
We now go on a short break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. Do stay with us. Many thanks for being there. In Nigeria's northeastern state of Borno, the government is appealing to the international community for support for its basket fund, which aims to assist in the resettlement of displaced persons and the repatriation of refugees. News Central's Umaru Kirawa reports that the fund is set to provide much-needed resources to help rebuild communities ravaged by conflict and assist individuals in starting a new life in their ancestral communities. Thousands of refugees residing in the Republic of Cameroon have shown willingness to return home.
So we are extremely grateful. We have seen what has happened here, and I believe more communities will be resettled. I'm calling upon other countries in the world to donate to our basket fund, 2 of our basket funds, especially one, the Regional Stabilization Facility Fund, which is being managed by UNDP still, as well as the one UNOFA, which is managed by UNDP, but still implemented by the government of Borno State as well as UNOCHA.
Now joining us on the news is Yusuf Mohammed Gulumbo, CAMS Manager and Acting Council Coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So can you please provide an overview of the current situation regarding the resettlement of displaced persons in Borno State?
Thank you very much. As we all know, Borno State government, through the administration of His Excellency, Professor Babagana Umar Azulu, has been resettling the internally displaced person in Maiduguri, and the camp has been closed. So, and now he is focusing on the liberated communities where we still have some of the internally displaced person residents in the camp, and currently resettlement is being going on. Just we can take just Logumani and we'll go as a case study.
Now, well, as the Borno State government seeks global support for resettling more communities, what are the specific efforts that are being made to ensure that displaced persons are resettled in a dignified manner?
Actually, Borno State government is providing a livelihood support to the IDPs. You know, particularly we, the people of Borno State, we know we are normally known for agriculture and fishing. And when you want to resettle people, then you have to provide such sustainable means of livelihood before resettling them. So Borno State government is using a livelihood mechanism through agriculture, giving them some farm tools and some incentive to start up so that they should build, the IDPs there can build resilience. So not all, through the state government is trying its possible best to make sure that each IDP that was resettled has been given some substantial amount of money to start a livelihood either in agriculture or in businesses. And you can see all those IDPs that have been resettled, they were given their houses is being built or rebuilt by state government, and then giving them a very good outlook, so that when they go back, they don't need to go and struggle to build their houses back. And to make sure, the state government is making sure that there is a 100% security attached before any resettlement partakes in any given location of the state. And currently, if you look at the case study of Logumani community, you look at it, the 500 housing unit being built by Borno State government by the support of some agencies, donor agencies, you can see is the most beautiful places whereby even in Abuja, if you go there, hardly you will see this type of buildings being allocated to someone or given, but these IDPs are the beneficiaries of such intervention by the state government. And of course, each person that was resettled there per household, they were given 2 cows, farm seeds, and they were given money and then some basic incentive to start livelihood there.
Aside that, I think what would be pertinent for people who will be resettled in these communities or these areas would be security. What assurances are there that there would be adequate security, protection of lives and property of these people in these areas?
You know, the truth is that we cannot shy from the truth. Any location, each location or places that were resettled by the state government, the state governor has to, make sure that there is a thorough security, thorough security architecture before any resettlement took place. Not any single resettlement that will be taking place just by the state government without making sure that the security apparatus of there and the structures are there. And I can tell you now, from where the resettlement commences or it started, the farmers there, any community, they can go as far as 20 kilometers to go and do their farming activities and come back safely, and nothing is happening.
Okay, we have talked about security and shelter for these people. Let's look at the issue of healthcare and education. Are there any specific plans or programs being implemented to provide adequate support, resources for these people in terms of adequate healthcare and education opportunities for them?
Yeah, actually, the state government has to look in this area, because it is a very crucial area whereby the state government, before it commences the resettlement, it has to make sure that there are educational facility and health facility, and also, the security facilities before even the resettlement commences. Because now, if you go there, you see that some teachers were deployed almost in most of the resettled communities, so to start educational activities. And the state government is using the State Ministry of Health to make sure they extend their health services to those areas. And all those structures are there to see for everyone, because the state government cannot just do that without making sure that those apparatus are there.
Yusuf Mohammed Gulumbo, thank you so much for talking to us.
You are welcome, and nice having you too.
Thank you too. Now, moving on, there are indications that organized labor is prepared to lower its demand for 1 million naira minimum wage for workers in the country, in line with realities on ground. The shift in position will likely be communicated to the federal government during the second meeting of the Tripartite Committee on the Minimum Wage on Monday and Tuesday. It was gathered that the meeting would enhance deliberations between all parties involved in negotiations to allow for the announcement of a new minimum wage on or before April 1, following the expiration of the current 30,000 naira minimum wage as provided by law. President Bola Tinubu, through his deputy Kashim Shettima, had on January 30 inaugurated a 37-member panel on the new minimum wage at the council chamber of the State House in Abuja. Joining us now on the news to discuss this is Oludari Akinlaja, who is a policy advisor. Thank you so much, Akinlaja, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So would you consider it wise at this time for the organized labor to go ahead and negotiate down what was earlier thought about, that is 1 million naira minimum wage for the Nigerian workers, owing to the fact that we are seeing a rising case in inflation figures in the country?
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me. The truth is, I think that's the way negotiations happen. So a top figure is given and reductions are given based on current realities. The truth is, even labor understands that not every state can pay. Okay, so we have to be very pragmatic. Okay, of course, 30,000 is too mega a sum to deal with the current realities we are having. But even the 30,000, not every state governor was able to pay. Okay, so you are down now going to mark it up to 1 million. So the truth is, we really need to have a midpoint, and this discussion really, I think we need to start having it in a holistic form. Okay, we need to start asking ourselves, how many states are viable enough to pay this money? The people that live in Lagos, for instance, can they be compared to the people who live in Ondo State, or who live in Osun, or who live in Kwara as you move upward? So most of these conversations, we need to have them on the long run. But I understand that this conversation is on the immediate, but we need to be practical with ourselves. Can every state pay any increase in any?
So if we establish the fact that not all states can pay, we may need to also understand why they can't pay. So because we know that the state governments the state governments collect allocations, they generate IGR though at varying numbers. Of course, we know their capacities, the capacity also vary. But then let's understand the issues. Why is it that some states can't pay while others do not have the financial resource to pay? Probably we can tackle it from that angle.
Well, it's simple. If you run a business and you are not generating enough money to be able to pay, how do you want to pay salaries? You will talk about the allocations. How the states do not collect the same allocations, right? The states do not generate the same thing. And if you look at our budgets, we are usually using our budgets for a lot of recurrent expenses, which is maybe payment of salaries. Just look at the budgets of many states. You see how heavy it is on just recurrent expenditure, which includes payment of salaries. Now, you and I will ask the question, who are the people that are working and who are the people that are getting paid? You see, those conversations, we need to start to have them. I remember many years ago when a state governor in Nigeria wanted to weed out ghost workers. What happened? It was chaos from labor union. So we need to start asking ourselves, if we want change from one angle, we need to start looking at the whole value chain. How many people are in our civil service? How many people are working in our civil service? Are we just recruiting because we want to create jobs for party members or all that? You see, these questions need to be asked. Because if we are coming to the end before we go to the beginning, we will just keep struggling. Not all states make the same money as Lagos. Not all states make the same money as Rivers. Not all states can generate as much as Lagos and Rivers is able to generate. So these questions will be asked. If you peg the minimum wage at 200,000, for instance, some states will pay effortlessly, while some states will not be able to pay because of most of these challenges.
So if we are to look at these challenges regionally, are there things that these states within their regions can do, probably collaboratively, to improve on their IGR, improve on what they have to scale up production and probably generate enough revenue to pay their workers? Is this something that we can look at?
Look, the truth is, and this is why I always have this conversation, we need to redesign how Nigeria is structured, right? Now, people might argue that currently, even what governors are able to make, they should be able to pay a certain percentage of salaries. I agree. But how Nigeria is currently structured is giving governors what I call a beautiful excuse. Now, the beautiful excuse is we can only spend what government has given to us. And you see, this is a beautiful excuse. If we internally generate revenue, we're not going to be able to make so much because somebody up in the middle belt of Nigeria will tell them, I am not Lagos. What do I have in my state? I don't have port. I don't have this. I don't have that. I only have this. You know, so those are beautiful excuses. But the truth is, because of how we are designed, this federal system, top-down heavy, always waiting for federal government to send allocation, we will keep giving governors a beautiful excuse. If we're not confident enough to restructure state-wise, can we just allow regions manage their finances, manage what they produce, be able to spend what they produce, and pay some form of rentage to the federal government? I am an advocate for the redesign and the restructure of Nigeria economically. Only at this point can people be able to make arguments for and make demands for certain state governments. If we do not do that, they will still keep having that beautiful excuse.
Well, as we see it, it weighs down more on the government at the center. And on the part of this same federal government, according to reports, it has struggled to even pay the 35,000 naira wage award agreed for 6 months, and it keeps borrowing to fund budget and expenditure. So now, won't this new minimum wage further plunge the government into debt crisis?
So you see, and this is what negotiations are all about. Government just wants you to hear the beautiful thing. But the truth is, and I think, let's leave government, for instance. If you run a private business, for instance, no matter how staffs agitate, if your income cannot meet the salaries, you either sack, or get one, and that's how private sector runs. But the problem is because it is public sector, and we feel that we are all the owners of the public system, any small downsizing or retrenching or adjustment that needs to be made, we begin to shout, we begin to make agitations. All right. I also agree that government is also not making the case easy for them, because if you are telling people to make adjustments, you yourself have to cut down on the cost of governance. You have to reduce how you are expressing and spending money in other areas, because people will not believe you when you say you can't pay, because you are simply showing some form of spending money recklessly, for lack of use of a better word. But the truth is, we need to start to redesign our civil service. And there are many documents that speak to the civil service reform. But the truth is, the government is saying, if we implement this reform, we will be pitched against labor again. There's a civil service reform document, the Onosai, they're all there. that will help us restructure our civil service. Because if we keep doing this, we'll keep having to borrow to be able to pay salaries.
Okay, so finally, talking about redesigning, of course, there's this talk in public discourse about transiting from presidential system of government to parliamentary system of government. Do you think that could work in a way to help the government save funds to pay?
well, yes, it would. You see, I'm a policy person, I'm a consultant, so I'm always looking at it from the design point of view. Okay, now the idea of the parliamentary system, the truth is, it's going to take power, some sort of power away politically from a certain amount in the numbers of people. But I will always be a fan of the parliamentary system, based on the fact that the way we are structured as a people, our complex economy, our complex system, 252 tribes, if I'm not mistaken, 512 languages, even without financial issues, having to have a consensus on what will move us forward as a people is already complex from its inception based on our design. So unbundling and creating most of these parliamentary systems, regional and its redesign, if not even to start economically, it will help us unbundle to a level where we can begin to have consensus at certain levels.
Oludare Akinlaja, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, thank you too. To politics now. In the latest twist to the saga surrounding Saturday's All Progressives Congress gubernatorial primaries in Edo State, another candidate, Anna Mero Sunday Dekeri, has been declared the winner by local government returning officers. This revelation marks the third time a candidate has been proclaimed victorious in what critics denounce as a severely flawed electoral process, casting a shadow over the party's commitment to internal democracy. Initially, the chairman of the Electoral Committee, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, announced Honorable Dennis Idahosa, a member of the House of Representatives, as the winner with a significant 40,483 votes, seemingly aligned with the Senator Adams Oshiomhole faction. However, Dr. Stanley Uduaja, the returning officer for the primary, later declared Senator Monday Okpebolo as the rightful APC candidate, emerging from a parallel primary election in Benin. In the midst of this turmoil, Abdullahi Ganduje, the APC national chairman, has extended congratulations to Idahosa, hailing him for his victory. Before the announcement of Dennis Idahosa as the winner of the All Progressives Congress direct governorship primary contest, there was disruptions earlier in the day. The All Progressives Congress governorship primary was marred by controversy.
Bleeding lip and, well, some blood stains on my body, but we're fine. Unfortunately, some of our equipment damaged, our tripods damaged. Let me have the other part there. And then, well, I say we are even lucky. We're luckier than some others. There was a journalist from NTA who was being brutalized on the floor right in front of me. Demola, camera operator, had to run into one of the toilets with another engineer from TVC. And then somebody from, I think, Arise had his laptop broken. His laptop was smashed on somebody else's head, as a matter of fact. But thankfully, we're safe, we're good, and most importantly, we're alive. We informed some of the other colleagues from other stations to please notify us when collation commences. So they informed us and we went together to a hotel somewhere in Benin here. But to our greatest surprise, upon getting in there, it was a very small space. It wasn't even a hall, it was the bar of the hotel. And that actually, made some bells begin to ring in my head. Like, this is very, very out of place. I've covered elections several times, and this is not a space that should be used to collate, even if it's local government election results. And then while it was ongoing, at some point, we noticed that TVC caught their live broadcast, but we didn't understand what was going on until we got some kind of notice that was circulating. And this came in after about 7 or 9 local government results had been announced. And then the announcer called for a recess, so we stepped outside. While we were outside, then we noticed more movement, and then entourage of some police officers came in. The commissioner of police with some other police guards came in. And then at some point, they told everybody to step out of the hall, and that's when some boys, we don't know who they are, came in their numbers and began to brutalize journalists.
Earlier, we were joined on the news by a lawyer and political analyst, Taiwo Jomo, to discuss this further.
It's very, very embarrassing, and it's confusion at its very peak. Now, embarrassing because as far as Edo State is concerned, the APC is the opposition party, and then one would expect that the opposition party who would wrestle power from the ruling party, that is the PDP, would do more in terms of being organized and putting their house in order. But it is very, very unfortunate. And like I said earlier, it is not very surprising because in Nigeria, this is Nigeria where political offices are very juicy, and this kind of make people, make aspirants very desperate. And sometimes there's always this element of bias and unfairness, because these are some of the factors that can lead to what we had yesterday in Edo State.
A break will do here on the news. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. Now to update on the African Union Summit in Ethiopia. The African Union's health watchdog said on Sunday that the continent's leaders will send a strong message for the renewal of the main U.S. program aimed at reducing the spread of HIV and AIDS. The president's emergency plan for AIDS relief, or PEPFAR, is a major funder of HIV testing, counseling, and life-saving treatment worldwide. The program, until recently, has enjoyed near universal support in the U.S. Congress. The Congress has formally failed to extend the program for a further 5 years because of the contentious U.S. abortion debate. The United Nations says the HIV prevention response is 90% short of the amount needed by 2025. Let's now tell you that Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu says Africa must forge partnerships that transcend borders and sectors, leveraging on collective expertise and knowledge, resources, and the private sector to address the complex challenges confronting the health sector. Speaking at the Ministerial Executive Leadership Program on the margins of the 37th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia on Saturday, President Tinubu said Africa's effective collaboration with the rest of the world to tackle existential health challenges is not merely a strategic choice, but a moral imperative. The president, who was appointed as the AU champion for human resources for health and community delivery partnership, said the challenges confronting the continent are too complex and multifaceted for any one or entity to tackle alone.
May I also take this opportunity to affirm Nigeria's commitment to the tenets of the African Union, particularly regarding peace and security, economic development, good governance, and democracy. In the realization of these ideas lies the best welfare and future of our continent and its people. Your Excellencies, this world and our world is a continent in transition. The world exists in a period of fundamental transition. Neither Africa nor Nigeria is exempt from the realities of this transition. Where there is a transition, there is inherently is uncertainty again. Neither Africa nor Nigeria is immune from the uncertainty of the system.
Elsewhere, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan and other African heads of state has unveiled a statue of Tanzania's founding father and former president Julius Nyerere on the sidelines of the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa. Nyerere is credited as being at the forefront of the founding of the Organization of African Union, a predecessor to today's AU, founded in 2002. He was also one of the founding fathers of the Southern African Development Community, SADC. Nyerere's sculpture is the third statue erected on the premises of the AU headquarters next to the late Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, and the late Ghanaian President, Kwame Nkrumah. Some eminent Nigerians were over the weekend recognized by the Sun newspapers for various achievements through the year 2023. At the event, Innocent Chukwuma, the chief executive of Nigeria's auto manufacturing company, Innocent, Tony Lumelu of Hair Holding, and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, as joint men of the year. News Central's Uzona Onoye tells us more.
For some of the dignitaries, walking into the hall was anticipatory, while others came with fanfare. Sustaining a tradition that began 21 years ago when Mike Adenuga received the maiden award of the Sun Man of the Year for the inroad into and expansion of Nigeria's telecom space through his Globacom, has been a task the newspaper takes seriously as a means of rewarding hard work and inspiring greater stride towards excellence.
The year 2023 for Nigeria and as a nation and Nigerians as a people was remarkable and challenging. In the midst of all this, there were Nigerians who weathered the storm and stand tall today to be counted. We are here to celebrate and honor them. We are here to tell a story to the fact that with the excellent use of our human and capital resources, something good will come out of Nigeria.
For the chairman and publisher of the Sun newspaper, opportunities to the younger generation which may come through representations should not be taken for granted.
The youth is now, and although we are coined as the future, we can also take advantage of the present. However, in having more young people in positions of power, that doesn't make it enough. I think that the bridge between generations is strengthened through mentorship and guidance.
Initial formalities now done, it was time to begin the business of the day. One category after the other, the awardees were called up to the podium, some physically present, others represented.
From my humble beginning, as a street hawker in my community, Agoiwe, I'm standing before you today, receiving the Backer of the Year award is inexplainable. From all indications.
Some of the awardees shared what this meant to them.
I think it's a call for duty because no matter what happens in life, there are positives in every situation. Things are bad now, but if we stay down, we remain down, we gotta be inspired, dust ourselves up, rise up and to challenge.
There's a global downturn at the moment, but all the same, I'm sure you heard when the president gave an assurance and said that we need to go through this now to be able to come out better on the other side of all the reforms that are taking place. So all I want to say is, please, we need some patience. We need people to get on board all what is going on.
Over the years, there has been a growing number of awards where individuals are singled out for recognition from thousands of competitors in every field. Now more than ever is the time to see the value of such excellence celebrated manifest in all parts of the nation's existence in addressing those burning issues threatening the future of the country. In Lagos for News Central, Uzona Onoye.
Now, the prevalence of out-of-school children in Nigeria has become increasingly worrisome, especially as the number continues to rise despite interventions. Experts, however, charge the government at all levels, including states, with huge numbers of out-of-school children to put all hands on deck in providing necessary solutions and changing the narrative. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more in this report.
Globally, children are entitled to free and quality education. Yet, the number of out-of-school children in the world is alarming and on the rise. The rise is particularly evident in sub-Saharan Africa, with Nigeria at the epicenter. The 20 million out-of-school children in Nigeria, according to the Universal Basic Education Commission, include the girl child in northern Nigeria, boy child dropout in south and southeast regions, internally displaced and Almajiri children who are predominantly found in northern Nigeria. Despite interventions by the government at all levels and other relevant stakeholders to address the menace of out-of-school children, the number has continued to increase.
Our population is going to double by 2050. And so we're going to have over 400 million Nigerians. And to your point, if we continue at this pace, we're also going to double the number of out-of-school children. In fact, not only the out-of-school children, but even those who are in school.
While the urgency of addressing the challenge of out-of-school children requires much more than the 68 billion naira lifeline under UBEC, funding remains a crucial part of reversing the ugly trend.
This is also telling you that whether it's 10 or 20 million, it's a huge issue that needs a lot of funding. But it's beyond funding. What are the strategies that we can deploy? Then one thing is clear, we cannot build enough schools fast enough because every year more children come into the equation. Children are born every day, every minute. So every year, children become of school-going age and there are no schools. So one thing is clear that we don't have enough schools in the country.
It's called out-of-school children, right? Not out-of-school youths or adults. So I feel most of the funding should come for basic education, which is primary school level and the junior secondary school level.
Beyond funding, deploying technology to address the problem of out-of-school children will make a huge difference, according to experts.
We have an issue of a lack out of school children. Why haven't we deployed technology in the way that we did during that time to reach all these children to learn? Why haven't we deployed technology to gather the data to really identify, where are they? Where are the children who are not in school and how can we reach them?
The consensus is that education is the cornerstone of economic growth and national development of any nation. Hence the need for government to use its transformative power in shaping the future of the country. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Coming up on the news. Supporters call for release of presidential candidates from jail. We will bring you more on this when we return. Just stay with us. We now head back to West Africa, away from the AU summit anyway, where supporters of opposition presidential election candidate Basiru Diomaye Faye on Sunday demanded his immediate release in the name of equal treatment under the constitution. The coalition noted that the situation also required the urgent release of jailed opposition Pastef party leader Usman Sonko. The Constitutional Court rejected Sonko's candidacy and accepted that of Faye, the party's number 2, along with about 20 others. But Sonko has been in prison since July 2023 for calling for an uprising associated with criminals linked to terrorism and harming state security. Faye has been under preventive detention since April last year, but has yet to face trial. We also tell you that Burkina Faso's transitional president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, pays tribute to his country's youth and hammered home the need to fight for the sovereignty of Africans. He made this known at a meeting with several of thousands of supporters in Ouagadougou. In a widely applauded speech, the head of state paid tribute to Burkina Faso's youth for their citizenship and patriotic vigilance and the consolidation of the gains of the transition. Traoré has been interim leader of Burkina Faso since the 30th of September 2022 coup d'etat, which ousted interim president Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba.
On n'a jamais fait un communiqué pour féliciter une victoire de nos armées. À peine elle condamne du bout des lèvres et très rarement lorsqu'il y a des massacres.
L'objectif principalement, c'est pour encourager les veilleurs patriotiques et citoyens. Ceux qui sont regroupés devant les carrefours, autour des ronds-points, jour et nuit, pour faire en sorte que l'ennemi ne s'infiltre ou nous surprenne avec une déstabilisation. Nous nous sommes réunis avec le chef de l'État pour lui dire que nous sommes debout jour et nuit de façon permanente et lui à son retour de nous dire qu'en réalité nous devons continuer parce qu'il est du cœur avec nous.
In South Africa, a new outbreak of African swine fever has been confirmed in pigs of small farmers on the outskirts of Greenwade Park in George, South Africa. ESF virus is specific to pigs and does not affect humans or other species of animals. The Department of Agriculture called on all pig owners to implement strict biosecurity to protect their livestock from the disease and to call their nearest state veterinary office should farmers have any concerns. According to a statement released by the Western Cape Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Ivan Meyer, this is the fourth outbreak of the disease in the Garden Route area since 2022. Away from the shores of Africa, we tell you that Spanish emergency services say a fire that broke out in the Madrid nursing home early on Sunday has killed 2 women and injured 18 others. The blaze broke out at around 7 a.m. in a room on the first floor of the residence, which is home to 39 people. One of the injured, a woman, was in critical condition due to burns, while the rest were taken to hospital with moderate or light injuries, mostly due to smoke inhalation. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says the situation in the Israel-occupied West Bank posed a major obstacle to finding a long-term solution for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Around 490,000 Israelis live in the West Bank, which Israel has occupied since 1967, in dozens of settlements that are deemed illegal under international law. The settlers live alongside around 3 million Palestinians in the territory. Palestinians view the Israeli settlements as a war crime and a major obstacle to peace, but many national religious hardliners see living there as fulfilling a divine promise. In sports, national trials commenced with a thrilling start as the men's and women's 100-meter event took center stage on day one. The competition, which will determine Nigeria's team for the African Games in Accra, Ghana, saw Israel Okon Sunday and Olayinka Olajide clinch the titles in the respective categories. Sunday's victory came after a disqualification of Consider Ekanem, who initially led the standings. In the women's event, Blessing Ogundiran set the pace with a fast 11 minutes 33 seconds, while Olajide emerged victorious in the final with a new PB of 11 minutes 19 seconds. Faith Oshamui and Hamid Sambo also impressed, winning the 100-meter hurdles and men's 1,500-meter finals, respectively. The events will continue with various competitions on day 2, including the 200-meter, 400-meter hurdles and long jump. The competition is scheduled to run from the 17th to the 21st of February 2024. Kylian Mbappe, the Ligue 1's top scorer, made a significant impact as Paris Saint-Germain secured a 2-0 victory over Nantes. His late penalty goal, after coming off the bench, extended his league-leading tally to 21 and the season's total to 32 in 31 games. Following the final whistle, Mbappe displayed a gesture of appreciation by giving his jersey to PSG's traveling fans. Coach Luis Enrique opted to start Mbappe on the bench, a decision that raised eyebrows given the player's recent announcement of his departure from PSG at the end of the season. Mbappe entered the match in the 61st minute, shortly after Lucas Hernandez's deflected shot found the net. Mbappe's impending departure has sparked reactions from his teammates, who have expressed their thoughts on the matter after the match.
Ça change la dynamique, mais après, on a de bons joueurs. On a des joueurs qui pouvons faire la différence. Mais Kylian et Ousmane sont des références ici. Et oui, je pense que quand ils ne sont pas là, ça change un peu. Mais je ne crois pas qu'on a fait un deuxième mi-temps mal à cause de ça. Un match à deux vitesses. Premier mi-temps, beaucoup très lent. On a joué avec beaucoup de souplesse et après pour l'équipe de Nantes c'était plus facile de défendre. On n'était pas bien placé. Et après la deuxième mi-temps, on a changé des choses, on a mis des joueurs entre lignes et ça complique un peu le travail des
And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we take a look at some of our top stories. Organized labor in Nigeria set to shift ground on proposed 1 million naira minimum wage. Nigeria ruling APC image maker in Plateau State shot dead. African Union leaders to push renewal of U.S. AIDS plan. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can equally watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.